welcome everybody. It's Ted Prodromo. I'm here with my friend Kimberly Arnold, who I don't know, was it a year ago we met or 2 years ago? Who knows?
Think a little over a year ago. That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I just love what you're doing. You're like, I'm going to tell your story. You could tell a lot better than I could.
Well, yes, indeed. So I think like many people in that sort of encore phase, I spent over 30 years in a variety of corporate roles, right? I started in management consulting at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I went into healthcare locally in California. And then I turned that into a role in healthcare technology where I was sort of globally driving change, particularly for health insurance companies. And in that phase, I had the perfect storm moment. Right. So it was I was in a challenging work environment. I was grieving the loss of my uncle. I was caregiving my dad and his partner in another state. I'll be candid and say I was going through menopause. I think my manager was too. That was a bad combo.
Oh,
So, but the the truth of it was I got to a point that my body was way overtaxed and I had to take a 15-week medical leave. And during that time, I got to really reflect on one of the teachings from one of my core body-based somatic teachers. Wendy Palmer was an Aikido sensei and for like 50 years. And she would always say, under pressure, we don't rise to our expectation. We fall to our training and our habits. And even though I'd spent 15 years, I mean, every vacation, I've counted it up now. I literally have had over 2,500 hours of training
wow.
in a range of somatic practices. I was trained to facilitate them, to lead others through them. And when I was under stress, I stopped doing them.
Mm.
And so that became the sort of like the impetus for the pivot, right? So I got let go in August of 2020. I spent some time doing part-time consulting with some friends and their businesses. And at some point, the universe just kind of knocked on my shoulder and said, guess what?
It's time.
This is the time.
That's awesome.
So now what I'm doing is I teach people how to notice when they're physically, emotionally activated, how to interrupt that pattern and find themselves back in a place of balance and calm and confidence in less than a minute.
Hmm. I love it. I watch your videos all the time on LinkedIn.
Well, and it's fascinating because I was even in a meeting today with a group in one of my communities, and someone was talking about financial planning, and I could just see all the bodies in the space like starting to get uncomfortable. And so I raised my hand and I said, okay, for how many of you is this conversational activating?
Wow.
And eventually I watched all the hands go up and I was like, okay, let's feel our feet on the ground. Let's feel our sits bones in our chairs. We'll take an inhale, reach out the top of your head, take an exhale, relaxing down the front. Okay, we're better.
That easy.
It's that easy. Where's that easy button?
I really resonate with this because I have chronic vertigo. So I'm always trying to figure out what my triggers are, what puts me over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And it says it's about noticing and then just stopping. And just I've learned from you watching your videos, just take a deep breath, relax, notice.
Yeah, and there's a big part of it, which is actually particularly during the day when we're so wrapped up in our head, or maybe we're wrapped up in a lot of emotions, sort of like in our heart center. As soon as you shift your attention to your feet, it will change everything.
Yeah. That's why some meditations that I do, they start with your feet and work your way up.
That's right.
And
That's
some
right.
start at the
It's
top and go to the bottom.
well, it's the foundation of the house, right? Like you're going to start with the foundation, which in our gravity-based world is often your feet.
Yeah. So how can people work with you? Like, how do you structure your work?
Yeah. So I I I do work with individuals. So if people have specific things that they know are really activating for them, I do one-on-one coaching to help people get their own awareness of their responses, have a few practices to use, because what's true is if you start incorporating these practices, even in a few minutes a day, they not only give you immediate relief, but they also, research shows they actually cumulatively reduce your stress. So you can do that in a one-on-one setting, which I'm more than happy to do. And I will admit that my jam, the part that I'm really having fun with, is doing this with teams.
Yeah.
Because, how many of us have been in that meeting where somebody makes the comment and you watch all the heads drop and you watch all the bodies like posturing and positioning and like super uncomfortable, right? But imagine the power when the team knows how to say, I'm noticing tension in my body. Anybody else noticing some tension?
Right.
And then they can all do, I teach them. I mean, you've seen, I have videos of dozens of practices, but they all can then do the thing that they need to do to kind of come back to feeling more grounded, calm, centered, focused, and then re-engage.
Yeah.
And so on a team level, that looks like sometimes we do a little assessment at the beginning where we're kind of peeling back, like what are the top stressors and what supports your resilience and what gets in the way. And then we go into sort of workshops, and I'm really excited because I've got some teams now that are really taking this beyond just knowing how to do the reset, but knowing how to give and receive constructive feedback, because that's kind of activating.
Yeah.
Or taking it into how do you really move through the resistance and actively embrace change, because that's a little activating.
Mm-hmm.
And then also folks who are like, you know what? I am terrified to speak in front of groups. Or I had a person in the last week who said, my body tells on me. And I said, what do you mean? And in this case, they said, my face turns red. And I was like, right. So what if you could shift that so that in the moment that you're speaking, your body is also grounded and prepared for what you have to say? So the last one is helping people know how to, I call moving it from frightened to fabulous so you can shine on stage.
And these are all very simple things. They don't take weeks to learn or anything. You can literally do it in minutes.
You can do it in minutes. And I'll tell you like a quick story about that. I had a one-on-one client where I gave her the homework assignment to do what I call the calming breath. Inhale to a 4, pause, and exhale to a 6, right? Longer exhale actually lowers your heart rate. So I said, do that for 1 minute, 3 times a day. That was the assignment, 3 minutes out of your day. You're like, that seems pretty doable. She came back after the first week and she's like, I did pretty good. I missed a couple here and there. And I was like, okay. I said, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I'm going to set an alarm. I'm committed. I'm doing this every day. I was like, fantastic. So she comes back after the second week. I said, how'd it go? She's like, I did it every day. I did it at lunch with my friend. I did it at dinner with my husband. Like wherever I was, the alarm went off. I just invited whoever was with me to like take 1 minute to do this calming breath. I said, that's awesome. She came back after the third week and she's like, guess what happened? I was like, what happened? She said, well, my husband and I went to take a walk in our neighborhood. We came back. There was a petite homeless woman sitting on my sofa. She was drinking vodka from the freezer, watching TV, digging in my purse. I was like, whoa, what happened? She's like, well, my husband got angry. He was going to protect us. And she's like, and my calming breath kicked in. And I was like, right on. What happened? And she's like, I could really get that this woman was mentally unstable, but she was not a physical threat. So we called the police. We got everything back. Nobody was injured.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So 2.5 weeks of 3 minutes a day.
And where is she today? Imagine doing that for 6 months.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Like there's just a part of it. The whole goal is to connect it with things you already do so that it becomes habit. I recognize if I were unpacking throughout my day, I'm constantly making adjustments
Yeah.
in my body. Yeah.
I wish I knew about this when I was in the corporate world. I was a network manager, very stressful job with meeting after meeting all day. And everybody just runs from meeting to meeting and it's just so unfocused and so stressed.
Yeah. And it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's so necessary. And I was recently talking with some folks about the difference between being efficient in your response and being effective, right? Whatever the reactivated responses that we have, we do it really efficiently because we learned it at a young age and we've practiced it our whole life. But that efficient response is usually highly ineffective. So what we're doing is helping interrupt it, build a new little muscle memory pattern so you can be effective also efficiently.
Mm-hmm. It's really kind of just paying attention to yourself or
Yeah,
noticing other people. Like you say, they walk in and like they tense up when they talk about finance.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I love it. So how can people get in touch with you and learn more?
Yeah. So you can definitely find me all over LinkedIn, Kimberly S. Arnold on LinkedIn. You could also find Somatic Leadership on LinkedIn. You can find Somatic Leadership on YouTube. You can find Kimberly S. Arnold on Linktree. So there's many places and ways to find me. LinkedIn is probably the easiest, but yeah, and eventually there'll be a website. But for now, Kimberly S. Arnold, Somatic Leadership. Love to connect.
Nobody ever goes to websites anymore.
Good. Well, that's good to know since
I
I don't
don't
have
know.
one yet. I have the URL, but I don't have the website
I
up
kind
yet.
of get that feeling these days. Like there's so many other places to find us and
Right.
oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, Ted. And I will say this quickly. I do on LinkedIn, I post sample practices every Monday called Microshift Monday. So you could go to the hashtag Microshift Monday. You could go to my profile. You'll see lots of videos. And I usually offer a free workshop once a month. So my next one, I don't know when this is coming out, but my next one is October 17th, followed by November 14th, whatever that second Thursday is. So come check it out. Love to see
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, I love your videos. I watch them every Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.